I just bought this £100,000 plane, and in this video I'm going to show you the ins and outs of what this kind of money actually gets you and what you can actually do with it in the real world, because this little machine I'm now one of the owners of has some crazy hidden secrets up its sleeve that some of you will love, but some of you it will scare the out of. Designed in 2001 by the US company Vans, this is their RV7 model, and the first thing that will surprise you is that, like most planes at this price, it actually comes as a kit build. So it literally comes in bits, in a box, to build at home. Vans are very much considered the market leads when it comes to these small planes. So if you go to a light aircraft show, these things will be absolutely everywhere. So this middle range one is a great example to show you all around what 100 grand buys you. And I'll put in plain English what all these things mean in the real world. Starting with the engine. So we'll start with the nerdy bit first. So up front, the heart of the plane is a Lycoming IO360. So this is a 6-litre, 4-cylinder, horizontally opposed, 200 horsepower engine. So basically what that means is when you're in flight and you've configured it correctly, this thing will drink about 22 litres an hour and will cruise at about 200 miles per hour. And what that equates to is about 35 miles per gallon. And then we'll move forward to what might seem like a bit more of a simple bit of kit, the propeller. But actually, this one's a bit special. So this one is a variable pitch propeller, and it acts like a gearbox does in a car. So what this means in the real world is you can take off on much shorter strips with your low gear, and then you can cruise at much higher speeds more efficiently once you're cruising. So with this whole setup and the efficiency that I spoke about on the engine, this plane has a range of like 700-800 miles. So that's the same as taking off from here in Gloucester and going all the way to Barcelona on one tank. And that trip is actually perfectly legal. We've actually got lots of trips planned like that, so make sure to hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any of that stuff. So something that is also really special about these light aircraft is the shape of the wing. So this one in particular has a very deep wing, and what that means is you get that fast, efficient cruise that I spoke about earlier, but it also means that you can take off and land in very short distances. So if you didn't know, the UK is lathered in grass airfields, and lots of those are very short, and what that means is you can basically take these aircraft anywhere in the country. But the best bit is that it's also got a very stumpy wing in this particular aircraft, and what that means is it's super maneuverable, and this plane can do a full barrel roll in under 4 seconds, and I'll put a clip of that in now. So this is what the landing gear looks like on one of these light aircraft, and it is as simple as it looks. So it's basically we've got this metal strut with a wheel stuck on the end, and it kind of is as simple as that. So it doesn't retract like it does on bigger aircraft, it's permanently down. And we've got a disc brake on each side, which is operated by an individual pedal, which I'll show you when we go through the cockpit. But yeah, they are pretty simple. We'll move to the juicy bit now with the cockpit, and make sure to stick around because later on in the video I'll tell you everything you need to do to be able to fly planes just like this. So this is the cockpit of a £100,000 aeroplane, my office if you will, and it is very bare. So to take you through it, we'll go from back to front. So the luggage compartment in this, surprisingly spacious and can take up to about 40 kilograms worth of stuff. We took this camping recently, and we found that you're gonna fill it, you're gonna fill it space-wise before you fill it weight-wise. So there's plenty of useful payload there, so that's really good. Then working our way forward, we've got these 5-point harnesses, obviously to keep you strapped in, but also because this thing's aerobatic, so you wanna make sure that you're properly stuck in it while you're doing that. Then we've got these very much not glamorous seats, but surprisingly comfy. I think my cameraman can confirm they are comfy. Not too bad. Not too bad. We'll take it. The key thing with these aircraft is they're extremely manual, and what I mean by that is basically nothing's done for you. From actuating the fuel pump through to changing which fuel tank you want to be drawing fuel from, you've got to control everything. And of course, that means there's no autopilot, so you are always flying by hand. So we've got our basic flight controls, we've got the stick here, we've got the rudder and brake pedals that I spoke about earlier. So the pedals, the pedals that your feet are on, the bottom part of it is for the rudder, and the top part is to actuate the brake on the left and right wheels. So that's what you use that to steer, obviously to slow down after landing, but also to steer on the ground. So then this panel here that seems super complicated, there is of course a lot going on. So we've got our two main flight screens. So that's what gives us all of our flight information. So our speed, our direction, our temperatures and pressures of the engine, fuel, all that sort of stuff. And this middle section here that is missing, that's where my iPad would go. So that's what I use for navigation. I've got like an app that's basically Google Maps for the sky. So that's what I use for all my navigation. And then we've got our throttle and our prop and our mixture controls. So these are all kind of our very standard flight controls. People do always ask me about how safe these things actually are. And although they are very bare, there is a surprising amount of safety features on this. So basically we have two of everything where we can. So of course we've got our two flight screens, we've got our two fuel tanks, we've got our backup flight computer. So even if we suffer an electrical failure, we've still got backup instruments. Little bit technical, but the engine has got redundancy built in too. So each cylinder has two spark plugs where each one is fed by a different magneto. And what that means is we can still have component failures in the engine and the engine can still run. But on the topic of safety, something else I always take on a flight with me is pilot report map. What this app enables you to do is for pilots to report on what they can see and what is actually happening in that area at that point in time for other pilots to be aware of. So, for example, I can report on any sudden weather or any hazards like gliders, RC planes, smoke, parachutes, any birds, all this sort of stuff. For other pilots to be aware of. It's a great extra layer of protection, and like I said, something I take on every flight, and there'll be a link in the description so you can download it. So believe it or not, this tiny little wheel at the back is actually one of the key defining things of this plane. So this plane is a tail wheel, so it steers from the back, and that means that it takes off and lands very differently to conventional nose wheel aircraft. And that takes me nicely on to telling you exactly what you need to do if you want to be able to fly one of these planes or a plane like it. So what you'll need to do is start by getting your PPL-A license with a valid SEP, single engine piston, class rating, then what's called differences training sign off to show that you've done the training to be able to take off and land with these tail wheel aircraft. And then if you want to do the aeros I showed you in some of the clips in this video, you'll of course need to do your aerobatics rating. But if you're in the States, I believe you don't actually have a specific rating for the aerobatics, so as long as you follow the right rules, you can just go and do them. And they're all things that I've done and worked hard towards, in the last few years. So make sure to subscribe and follow, because we've got so much cool content coming with this plane. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in this video here.